This is the Marketing Boss Podcast, where today's top marketing professionals reveal their best tips, tools, and strategies, and we all become better leaders because of it. And here's your host, video marketing expert, Herschel Houghton.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to the Marketing Boss Podcast. We're so excited you're here today. Today, we are joined by Patrick McFadden. He's the owner and marketing consultant at Indispensable Marketing. I get that right. We're definitely excited to have him on today. We're going to be talking about 5 things everybody in marketing has to get right. And I'm really excited about this because, you know, this is the type of content I think that really makes us all better at what we do. So just to give you guys some insight about Patrick, he's known for his strategic marketing approach of first defining your strategy first and then identifying the supportive tactics. And he believes that effective marketing comes from understanding your company to the fullest, the dynamics of the marketplace, and identifying shifts, trends, and changes. He's active in helping business owners and organizations build strong marketing foundations and to change the context of how customers view what they do and the effect to render the competition irrelevant. So you guys are really, really going to enjoy Patrick. Patrick, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to enjoy this podcast here.
Oh, very, very good. Yeah. I know you're also in Virginia too, which is, I'm from Virginia myself, so that's really great to, speak with somebody from home base.
I agree. And the weather is great right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, let's dive right into the episode. I know we talked a little bit before we started recording here, but tell us a little about your background and, how you got involved in the world of marketing.
Yeah, I got the entrepreneurial background. I would say when I was 16, my mom actually bought some candy, and I was like, hey, I can sell this around my neighborhood. This is when Sam's Club first opened up.
Yeah.
And so getting that in bulk, I saw an opportunity to actually make money, and I knew it was something that people wanted because we had ice cream trucks coming around all the time. Mm-hmm. So I went out, my mom said, I'm only buying this once. If you don't make any money, that's it. It's on you. So I went out, sold the candy, but I created another problem. The problem was the kids were throwing the trash on the ground. So we ended up getting a letter sent around saying, hey, there's abundance of trash coming in the neighborhood. We don't know where it's coming from. So me, being an entrepreneur, I went up to the property management, knocked on the door and said, hey, I'll be more than willing to clean this up if you pay me. So they would pay me, and I would hire my friends to pick up the trash on the weekends, because that's when it was everybody's out of school, so that's when it accumulated most. And so not only was I selling the product, I was also picking it up and getting paid for it twice.
Man.
I think that really ignited that there's an opportunity to make money and understand what people buy. From there, after school, I went into engineering, so I was doing a part-time business for like an e-commerce business, selling electronics and things like that. So I hopped on, again, I spotted another opportunity. There was a site called UBid that just popped up before anybody knew about it. And I was on UBid buying all these electronics and reselling them. I would bid on it for like $2, $5, and I'll get like a MP3 player or some big screen TVs, and I would resell them. And that happened for like the first 8 months until it got to the point where I think the masses became aware about it. And it just took too long to get what you wanted, and everybody keeps bidding and bidding, so the ticker goes back up. From that point, I really decided I needed to figure out what I wanted to do. So interestingly, I read this book called 48 Days to the Work You Love by Dan Miller. And he talks about different work models. Like you can choose a career, you can choose a freelance, consultant, electronic immigrant, coach. Like there's all these work models because the workforce was changing. And in doing that, you have to identify your skills and abilities, your passion, and your personality traits. And I took that assessment and realized that I really like change. I'm systematic in my thinking. And when I look back over my career at that point, what did I really enjoy? And it was marketing. So I just, bootstrapped it, get on your shoes, go out there, start helping nonprofits and business owners for free, started blogging, started speaking, getting results. And then I realized that at that time I had called it McFadden coaching. I realized to increase my revenue, I had to change it to a firm and to also position it as a business that could grow. So that's when I changed the name. I spent 2 years as McFadden Coaching, doing marketing coaching, and I switched it to Indispensable Marketing, which is now what the firm is called today. And that's probably been the biggest shift, because when people hear the name, they're like, "Oh, Indispensable Marketing. Tell me more about that." And like you said, we're strategic. We're all strategic and strategy. So we really focus on what's your ideal customer, what really makes you different, and then how do we push that out through the supportive tactics. But we really nail down the strategy first.
Okay. That's amazing. And, I love hearing, like, the beginning stories of how people get into what they do, because, to me, it builds who we are, you know what I mean? And I love just hearing how people got started. And for you, it was, selling candy and then picking up after people, essentially. But there was a need that was there, and you were filling it, and that that's what got you going. So that's really, really neat to learn about. So
absolutely.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I said absolutely.
Oh, good. Yeah. So I know in terms of the content we're going to dive into today, I'm really excited about it because, again, the objective being here of the Marketing Boss to help us all as professionals in marketing, whether VPs of marketing of an organization or a company. I love how conversation sparks and we're able to help each other. So I'm definitely excited about the topic here, the 5 things that every marketer must get right, anybody that's in marketing. In particular, what made you think to focus on sharing this information today?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in marketing, a lot of tools, a lot of tactics, a lot of strategies. And I've found just in working with our clients that it's really not that complicated if you focus on a few things that really, really matter at the end of the day. And if you make that the basis of your decisions, things are going to work out for you. And just with talking with other marketers, it's clouded, it's cluttered. I mean, you talk about social media channels, it's cluttered in marketing with all the tools you can use, the tactics. And so I found that if you gain some clarity on a few things, everything else will work out for you. But you gotta make sure you have a solid foundation first. And I found that there's 5 things that really matter.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm really excited about this because you're right. There are so many different things that can really, I don't want to say distract us, but it's just so many things we have to be on top of and to, just to stay at the best of our game. So it can get overwhelming, but I'm excited about, from you, how we can learn to focus on what things we should be focusing on. So go for it. Like, tell us what would be, you said there's 5 things. So what's the first thing?
Yeah, the first one is to understand that nobody talks about a boring business. And what that really means is I've seen that every business that grows, they grow because they do one thing. They get people talking. And the fact is people don't talk about boring businesses. And when you really look at it, if you're looking to grow, like, people talking makes referrals happen. It's also what happens with SEO. It happens with social media. It happens with getting links to your site. You're getting people to talk for you. It's also how public relations happen. So you're doing something in a way that's unique and different, and people are talking about you. And I even ask my contemporaries, I'll say, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you wrote a review about a perfectly satisfying experience? Never. Right? Like, if you walked into a restaurant and they did exactly what they were supposed to do and they didn't do anything over the top, you didn't write a review for that. And so we have to figure out what does an average experience look like for our businesses? And then what's one thing we can do to exceed those expectations? I know I was working with one company, they handle customer service. And so most people feel that customer service doesn't really help them. They're just there to accept the complaints, and that, if you get hung up on, you like, they hung up on me. So we created a guarantee that got some attention that says, no, we don't hang up until you're satisfied. And that completely changed the way that this company was getting consulted and brought in, because that was the biggest issue from being boring, was nobody was communicating that. And what happened is the word started circulating through networking. It got some public relations. People started linking to it, saying this is how customer service should be. So by getting out of the boring business, they created all this growth and attention. And it's about just exceeding people's expectations. And in doing so, you just can't be boring.
Oh, yeah, that is for sure. Got to give some people something to talk about, and it's about, under promise, over deliver. That's kind of what I hear there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a ton of things. Like you can create processes, touch points, email systems. Like there's so many things you can do. You just have to. If a marketer's listening right now and they're like, "That's great, Patrick, but how do I really infuse this into the organization that I'm with?" I would say you need to map out the touch points in your organization, which are typically going to be marketing, sales, finance, HR. Like map out all the ways that people can come into interaction with your organization. And then from there you say, okay, how can we make in sales too, sales is an important touch point. But you go about and saying, okay, how can I make one of these better than what the average experience is? And you just put something in place. But you really got to map out your touch points for your organization first. And then you go about saying, all right, one of the things we teach our clients is to focus on monthly themes. So you would say this month we're focusing on our sales touch points or our follow-up touch points or our finance. And you go about figuring how do you make that a better experience? Do you put creative messaging on the bill? Do you make a follow-up phone call? Like what do you do to make it better?
I really like that. I mean, because you're right that those touch points there are so key. I mean, it's like all, relationship building moments that have to be really, really strong each time. So by focusing on each of those, at a different point, like I said, this month we're focusing on this and then going on to the next. I mean, that's really, really powerful. It's almost like you said, perfecting the system or process of how, how you can stand out really when it comes to the customer experience.
Absolutely.
Very good. I love that. Now let's. What about the number 2? So number 1 being don't be boring,
don't
right?
Be boring.
Give people.
Number 2 is about you have to define your ideal customer. Now I know as marketers we talk about target markets all the time, right? You got to have your target market, but we all know within that target market, there's a subset of people who are ideal customers. Ideal means 2 key characteristics that we've found. That is, first, they are profitable for you, for your organization. Secondly, they understand the value enough to refer you out. So when you look at your customer base and you say, okay, these are customers that are profitable and they also refer us, they're probably the customers that you would want to have 20, 50, 100 more of. And when you clearly identify those customers, you want to find out where do they hang out? Where do they spend their time? What do they care about? How do they think? I mean, you want to dive in and really dissect them to the point where you can say, we know our ideal customers are intellectual. They listen to this type of podcast. Now you know where to spend your ad budget or your marketing budget when it comes to looking at some of the tactics. But you can't choose the tactics until you actually know where they hang out, where they spend their time, what are they trying to accomplish, what are their goals related to a purchase, what are their motivations, what are their greatest frustrations. You have to really define your customer base, which is your ideal customer base, to really know what networking events you should spend your time at, what type of interactions, because now you could build your messaging, you can build your follow-up, you can build your sales, you can build your support all around attracting more profitable customers. And so it's very foundational before you even get to anything else, knowing who you're trying to reach in a very, very narrow way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy. I mean, just that alone, you know, it makes such a huge difference in how we do our marketing, how we're reaching out to people. I mean, now, you know, knowing your target audience is even effective when it comes to using Facebook, let's say, for marketing. I love the Facebook platform because you can be very, very specific in who you want to reach with your message. And so if you don't know who that audience is, you know, that's going to be a struggle. But, you know, I think the Facebook platform is a huge help in that for even somebody who doesn't know what their audience is, you know, demographically, or, you know, what their interests are. You know, just as a small tip to everybody, you can actually upload, let's say, your entire email database to Facebook to create a custom audience. And if that person's email that you have is what they use to log into Facebook, you know, that will provide for you that custom audience, and you'll be able to, you know, look at the demographics and the breakdown of that audience. But again, like you mentioned, like if you don't know your audience, you're kind of lost and you're wasting a lot of time and effort. So, and it's key, like knowing who you want to go after is very, very important to the success and how we do what we do.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I think it came to my mind that a lot of people really don't talk about it, which is the interest part. Because of Facebook being able to identify the interests of your customers, that's almost more important than the demographics, because most of the time people like similar, like, you know, if you watch a horror movie but you read horror books, and if you're trying to promote that movie, I mean, all you got to do is go to LinkedIn, Facebook, regardless of the demographic. I mean, you probably got to have somebody, you know, 18, depends on the rated R or whatever, 13 people, but all you got to do is pick. They like horror movies. They read horror films. I mean, horror books. Like all that stuff, and it's like, boom, based off interest.
It's so insane how to be so specific with that, but you're absolutely, you know, right on with that. I completely agree. You know, knowing who your audience is and where they are, and even deeper to know so much about them as to what their interests are. I mean, that's super, super key when it comes to what we do. So that's a great point. I love that one. And we're just on number 2, man. This is this is good.
Oh yeah.
So what about the third?
Yep. So number 3 is something that as marketers, the term is passed around a lot, and I call it insight over information, but it's about content marketing. So when, you know, as marketers, we get together and we say, yeah, content marketing, it rocks. But a lot of us, and I'm paying attention, we just push out more information. We're just writing the same thing, just adding to the clutter. And what it turns out is people don't need more information. In fact, if you go to the sales part of it, if you're a salesperson and you show up to read the brochure, you're done, because they already read that online.
Right.
And so marketing fits into that, because marketing puts the stuff in the brochure. So, you know, that's part of our problem too. So we really need to figure out, how do we bring insight to someone's situation and not just write more content? We gotta learn to make sense of things. We have to figure out, you know, tell the prospect, communicate why this information matters. What 3 things should we really be looking for when it comes to our specific business and industry? I think that's really where content wins, is when you bring that insight and over the information, and that's really just the gist of it. You just want to make sure that you're bringing value at the end of the day that's going to position you differently than somebody who's just reading a brochure.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that as well, you know, I've described content marketing as like a way to sell and without selling. Like, you know, you're essentially providing the value for what people need, because right now we're very much in an information age. So anything you want to know, you're hopping on Google for, or you're hopping on some forum to learn about. And so if you're not in those places where they're looking, you could be missing a huge opportunity, because once they've built the value in the relationship because you've answered their question, you're missing a huge opportunity that's there. So, yeah, I love that, because I'm glad you mentioned content, because right now that is really, really, really huge in how we engage people now, because again, everyone's looking for the information or for a quick answer to the question that they have. And if you can answer that, you initiated that relationship, and it can build from there.
Yeah, and the two other quick points that came back to mind is I always say, because I work a lot in the small to mid-sized business arena, and I always tell them, look, content is no longer a thought. You have to do it. First, you need additional salespeople. Content is additional salespeople in print. It can talk about your solution. It can define the next steps. It can give a testimonial. It can do all of that for you, just like a salesperson, and it can get them to reach out to you. So it's no longer a thought. You have to do it. It's additional salespeople in print. And then the second thing I always tell them is, look, just like you said, SEO, like just search engine optimization, and which is fueled by content, is now a legitimate channel. The behavior of a prospect has changed. They no longer, hey, you need to talk to Bob. Great, just tell Bob. No, you know what happens now? You'll say, hey, you need to talk to Bob. Really? All right, give me his information. And most people either go on LinkedIn to see if Bob's on LinkedIn, does Bob has a Facebook, and if they don't have those presence, if they don't have a presence online, and they're not, and then second of all, if somebody, let's think about this. So you go to Bob's website. If Bob then has information that educates and brings insight, the value of the offering is now increased. So now when you say your price, there's little rebuttal, there's little objection to the price, because you've taken the time to give the prospect the chance to educate themselves about the value that you bring even before you even talk. So it's like content is so much. It's, and another real quick point, content is how you turn somebody that's not an ideal client into an ideal client. Because as they read and they continue to get educated, you turn them into someone who may be ideal, where at first they may not be ideal. And it's sales, it's transitioning the context in which you're found, making the competition irrelevant. And that's what I mean when you said that in my bio. How do you make the competition irrelevant? Changing the context. And that's what it's really about.
Absolutely. I love that. I mean, I love talking about content. You can go on and about that. So this is great. So let's keep pushing along. So number 4.
Yep. So this is about earning permission. And what I mean is nobody really wakes up saying that I need your solution. This comes back to earning the permission to, like you said, about with content, earning the permission to have the conversation, to make the case why I should accept your call. Why should I read your email? We have to earn that permission, and a lot of times this is going to be done through education. I believe education is the great equalizer for a small or mid-sized business, because when you talk about raising your prices and doing a whole bunch of things in terms of marketing, it always starts with the educated customer. The educated customer buys differently than someone who's not educated. And in fact, if you think about it, if somebody calls you, here's a perfect example. So I get a lot of marketers who reach out to me and they say, Patrick, how do I know my difference is being communicated and that it's working? And I'll say it's very easy. How many calls do you get to say how much? Because if they call and say how much, that means they haven't been educated on why you're different. And that's the one signaling factor. Because if they call and say, hey, I read on your, you think about it. I hear this all the time with one of my clients. They own a handyman service, residential and commercial, and I listen into the phone calls. And it's amazing how I hear customers call in and they'll say, hey, I read on the website that's an educated customer. You already know that they expect to pay a premium.
Right.
Rather than calling and saying, hey, I have a doorknob, how much?
Yep.
That means so but back to earning permission, we have to make sure that we're putting things out there to earn the right to have the conversation, not just spamming at the end of the day. You can't spam your way, you can't cold call your way. You have to just figure out how to change the context in which your organization is found. That may mean instead of cold calling, be invited to speak. Instead of just getting a referral, how about you earn the trust to be referred? And just changing the way that you're found and changing the way that you're going to be earning permission is really the gist of what I'm saying.
Oh, no, I love that, especially when you think about, like even as an example of water, like you go to the store to get water, like a convenience store, you got Dasani, you got Smart Water, you got you got all these different things, and there has to be a way that you connect with a certain brand as to why you're going to get it. It might be price, might be the story, might be something else, but you're right, by earning that permission and creating that distinction, I think is so important.
Absolutely.
Definitely. All right, man. Well, I'm excited. This has been really, really great, Patrick, and we can actually finish up with the fifth one and then close out from there. Definitely want to be sensitive to your time as well as the time of the listeners. So I'm excited. Let's hit number 5.
Absolutely. This is my favorite one. That's why it's last. It's about developing a sample size offering. Now, I know everybody wants to go from I ran the ad, they heard about us, sell them the offering, sell them the widget, the service. A lot of times we miss the fact that all business is risk. And in fact, we have to earn trust, again, back to earning permission, to have people take the full offering. And so what I recommend is marketers really think about, how does someone try and sample your expertise, your product, your service? And you have to really think about it. Like I know a coach that does with organization. She created a Get Unstuck mini series that allows you to sample her expertise before you buy a full package. Oh, wow. I know. Like for us in marketing, we do audits and assessments to allow you to sample what it would be like to work with us for a small fee before you actually do the full consultation. And so when you think about your industry, you have to think about maybe there are small projects, maybe there are trial offerings. If you're in the food consumer packaging, anything like that, I always say, how do you get to the wallet? Is through the taste buds. But you have to give people sample offerings of your food to get to the wallet. So you have to figure out, how do you get a sample size of what you do in order to build that value and that trust to get them to buy the core offering. In California, there's a remodeling contractor that does a 1-week bath. So they do a 1-week bath in order to get you to try them out. So you do a larger renovation and remodel project. So in every industry, there's a way to figure out how to try out your expertise, your service, your product. You just have to think about it. And I'll be happy to share ideas if anybody wants to reach out to me. I'm happy to share ideas, but develop a sample size offering.
I love that. Yeah, could you give maybe one example? I'm trying to think of, like if it's let's say a service-based business, a plumber, for example. I know it's small, but just interested in terms of what ideas you would have there for a sample size offering to give, because that's a brilliant idea, and I think more need to do that for sure.
So you said for like a plumber that's offering a service?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I think about a plumber offering a try, so their try is the diagnostics process of what's going on. And so maybe you formalize the process by adding a diagnostics worksheet. that says, hey, this is what looks like what's going on. I know for us to come out, it costs, I don't know, $80 or whatever. So $80, you get a diagnosis worksheet. You're experiencing our expertise in diagnosing the problem, figuring it out. And if you're ready to get this fixed, which is the core offering, we can go ahead and make that happen.
Okay.
Or now, if they're a plumber, that's a plumber doing on the spot, boom, boom, boom. But if they're a plumber that does large or small renovation projects, maybe they have something called like the kitchen, the 1 week kitchen plumbing, something like that. Like it's the 1 week kitchen where they redo your plumbing or in the kitchen or something.
No, that's really, really good. And it just makes you think, like, how this is about providing value. And I think it kind of ties up as well, like earning the permission, and really building that relationship. I think that's so, so key. Patrick, this has been phenomenal. This
Absolutely.
has been really, really great. Was there anything else you wanted to add to kind of sum up what you shared today?
No, I mean, that's it. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I really appreciate the opportunity. You're doing something that I think is remarkable by connecting us as marketers.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, man. And it's my pleasure, and it's so much fun to do. So speaking to listeners, I hope you guys have enjoyed this interview as much as I have. And I definitely want to make sure that you guys connect with Patrick online. So, Patrick, where can people reach out to you or get connected with you online?
They can go to indispensablemarketing.com or at Indispensable Marketing, or they can go to LinkedIn and search Patrick McFadden, Richmond, Virginia.
Awesome. And, hey, I want to thank those who have connected with me as well so far on social media. And if you guys would like to connect with us, find me. My name is Parshell Houghton on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out our private LinkedIn group that's called the Marketing Boss Club. And that's where, of course, us as marketing professionals can collaborate and grow together. Again, that's the Marketing Boss Club on LinkedIn. So come on in and join the group. Patrick, thanks again for being part of this today. This has been so, so great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, you guys. Well, this does it for this episode. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, remember, a good boss is a good leader. Go out there and serve your gift to the world because you're the boss. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Marketing Boss Podcast with your host, video marketing expert, Parshell Houghton. We'll catch you next time.